At 5 o'clock, as I predicted yesterday, life gets in the way. So there we are, especially at 5 o'clock in the evening, right? The quote for the day, it's by somebody unknown, anonymous. There are no shortcuts to any place worth going. There are no shortcuts to any place worth going. Now, let's see what Rev Margaret Stortz has got to offer. Well, of course, I know what she's got to offer, but let's have a look. The Emerson quote is on page 3 of Emerson's essays. It says, it is the universal nature which gives worth to particular men and things. Excuse me, I'll read that again. It is the universal nature which gives worth to particular men and things, or people and things, in today's vernacular. So in other words, God, the infinite, the all, the ground of all being, you pick your word. Same thing with Ernest Holmes, Science of Mind, page 35, pretty much towards the beginning of the book. The life we live is the universal life, and that's capitalized, expressing through us. How else could we live? In other words, in the mystical way of looking at the universe, or the New Thought way of which Science of Mind is a part, God is all there is, and everything is contained within the mind of God, because if God is all there is, nothing can be outside of it. So the mind that we use is the mind of God. And the life that we live is in essence the life of God. And this is Reverend Margaret. She says, in my spiritual practices, I like to affirm regularly that I bring my good to life in all that I do. And she said, this isn't a smarmy platitude trying to make nice, quote unquote. She says, I happen to believe that we as spiritual beings have got a job to do, so to speak. I believe that as we are heir to all that the infinite presence has to give, we also must stay in balance by giving to life what is ours to give. Our capacity to love comes to mind, or to share joy, or to use our wisdoms and energies to create healthy circumstances. Kind of reminds me of Jesus' story about the talents. The owner's, the master is going away for a while, and he gives each of several of his servants talents, some more than others. And the ones who have more use their talents and bring back more for him when he comes back. But the one who's only given one talent says, I know you're a hard taskmaster. In effect, my words. So I just hid it, and here's your talent back. And of course, he gets thrown off into the outer darkness. Why? Because he didn't use his talent. And talent, besides being a unit of currency back then, is also the same that we use it for now, which is using our God-given talents. And that's what she's saying here. It's our job to use the talents that we have got for our own good and everybody else's good. And then she says, we're not nebbishes. I don't speak Yiddish. I guessed it was Yiddish, but I had to look it up. And a nebbish is like an ineffectual person. Somebody probably gets trodden on, somebody who, is just totally ineffective. So that is a nebbish. If you learn nothing else today, you know what a nebbish is. It's an awkward, ineffectual person. And she says, we make impacts on surroundings wherever we go, and our impacts are not neutral. She says, a sense of ourselves is left on the people with whom we deal. Why? Because we all share some portion of our infinity with others. It is therefore important that we're mindful of what we think and how we behave. We will either use our divine energies wisely, or we will use them unwisely. She says, we will bring good, or we will bring ill. The choice is always ours, particularly if we are self-aware. Now, I think there's a middle ground there, because yes, we use our talents for good. We can also use our talents for evil, or we can just use our talents for things that really don't make a difference one way or the other. That's my opinion. But of course, the message is use your talents wisely. That's the message. She says, this will be a good day to choose to bring our divine vitality wherever we go. We leave our mark, however slight it may appear. Will we bring wholeness, vigor, and inspiration? It's ours to do. And of course, as I said, the whole message here is that we've all been given some talents. If you don't think you have talents, you do. You may not know what they are. My wife is always saying, look, I didn't go to college, so I don't have all that kind of learning. But I'm very good with people, and she is. She speaks to people wherever she goes. She makes them feel good about themselves. There was a book written, and this whole theory came out, I think probably 15, 20 years ago. And it was about emotional intelligence. Because when you talk about intelligence, everybody was fixated, on IQ tests. Now, there's nothing wrong with IQ tests to test our kind of skill in math, in physics, and all that kind of, all sciences. But there is this emotional intelligence where some people have it and some don't. My wife is a lot more emotionally intelligent than I am, even though I went to college. I went to college, but didn't make me any more emotionally intelligent. In fact, it might have made me the opposite. I studied engineering, and it's not exactly a social skill, right? So the whole point here is, first off, I think, figure out what your talents are. And if you don't know personally, go ask other people. Say, hey, you know me. What do you think I'm good at? Everybody is good at something. And if the people you ask say, well, you're not good at anything, don't believe them. Go ask a decent person. Go ask, a minister, a practitioner, a friend whom you trust. Say, what are my talents? What are my skills? Because every one of you have got talents. I got talents, you got talents. So the whole message here is use them and use them wisely. That's the whole message. Once again, she says, the divine good fulfills me, always has, always will, and I access it every day. That is her daily affirmation. Then she says, as God fulfills me, I assist others in fulfilling themselves. My thoughts and actions bring positive results. How about that? My thoughts and actions bring positive results. So my thoughts, actions, I would say, are beliefs. Thoughts and actions are beliefs. So in other words, you could translate and say, my beliefs bring positive results, because what we're talking about, the thought, the feeling brings positive results. So there you are. That is my story, and I am sticking to it. And hopefully one of these days, my top lip will not match my t-shirt. So I'm knowing for everyone a good use of talents daily. And I claim that this is truth. And I release this word into an infinite law that always says yes. And so it is. So please look out tomorrow for my colleague, Reverend Lisa Ryan, 9:15 a.m. Sometime today, my colleague practitioner, Daniel Johnson, either has or will do a midweek meditation. So look out for that. All on Creative Life Spiritual Center's Facebook page. And find me on whichever social medium you find me on. I'm still going to plug this class. Change your thinking, change your life. But if you've never been on a class that's similar to that, then sign up. Text me. I'll send you the information. 832-271-0717. Change your thinking, change your life. You think you know it? Hey, take the class and share your wisdom with us and learn something in the bargain. So until next time, namaste.